All right, good evening and Happy New Year. Welcome to the business meetings for the City of Prattville. At this time, you are invited to stand for our Pledge of Allegiance and our invocation, which will be given by Councilor Merritt. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening with grateful hearts, thankful for the opportunity to gather and serve our city. We thank you for many blessings you have bestowed upon our community and for the trust placed in us to represent the people we serve. We ask your protection and guidance over our first responders, our police officers, firefighters, EMTs, and all those who put themselves in harm's way each day to keep our city safe. Grant them strength, wisdom, and safe return to their families. We lift up this council, our mayor, city staff, and all who work on behalf of this city. May our discussions be guided by respect, unity, and the genuine desire to do what is right. Help us listen carefully, speak thoughtfully, and act with integrity and compassion. As we enter this new year, we ask for renewed purpose, healing where it is needed, and hope for what lies ahead. May we move forward together, committed to serving our community with humility, fairness, and dedication. Bless our city, its residents, and all who call this place home. May our efforts tonight and throughout the year reflect our shared commitment to represent our city to the very best of our ability. In your name we pray, Lord. Amen.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilor Newman.
Here.
Councilor Jackson. Here. Councilor Chambers.
Here.
Councilor Merritt.
Here.
Councilor Whaley.
Here.
Councilor Stritchett. Councilor Langley.
All right, our character trait of the month is persuasiveness, guiding with truths around another's mental roadblock so they better understand. At this time, we will have approval of our minutes from public hearing dated December the 16th of 2025. Each of you should have received those prior to the meeting and had an opportunity to look over those. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve these minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Chambers. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Merritt. All in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by raising your right hand. Okay, and these minutes are approved unanimously. All right. At this time, we will welcome any comments from persons present regarding tonight's agenda. We'll have anyone who wishes to speak on tonight's agenda line up in the middle aisle. You'll be asked to print your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to address council. Please state your name, address, and the item or items in which you plan to address, and then you may begin to speak.
John Lee Finnegan, 211 Deer Trace. I'm just curious, first of all, on the approval of the minutes, because the minutes from the first December meeting wasn't approved at the last December meeting, and now we're not having the minutes from that meeting. I'd like to know what's going on, if I may.
Holidays, vacation time, several different issues that were in the way of having the minutes ready for approval for tonight's meeting.
Okay. Well, it's been almost a month for the the first ones. I'm going to speak on consent agenda item number 11 about the fees. And I went back and looked at and got the consent agenda resolution, and it says, "And now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Prattville hereby accepts the recommended updates to the language for collections and retirees in the ambulance fee schedule policy." And I've spoken to some of the council people, and I'm just curious as to why there wasn't an attachment or something, because we citizens have no idea, unless we were at that ambulance meeting, and I believe I was out of town, and why there isn't anything. I mean, it could have been an attachment, and it could have showed the language. So we have absolutely no idea what this is concerning, whether it's fees or special people or whatever. And I'm just bothered by that. It's like you're getting a blank check and you're signing it after the fact, you know? And that's my main concern. Do you know why that language wasn't presented or even added as an attachment?
I do not.
I mean, do you understand what I'm trying to say?
yeah, I
I
understand
mean,
what
we
you're saying.
citizens have no idea. I mean, you could be talking about fee changes or whatever, but the language, I feel this should be held over until you can give that or present that wording. I just think it's very poor that we don't see what you're approving. And we aren't. We don't see it.
We will possibly discuss it when it is properly before us.
Oh, I understand that, but still, I mean, are you gonna read off what the changes are? So we still, you know, even the discussion, we're still not gonna know what they are.
Okay, we'll
Yeah.
see where that
Okay.
discussion leads us when it's properly.
But do you
properly
understand
before
that
us.
it
Yes,
might
I
have been a
do.
good idea to have an attachment that showed the language?
I do
Okay.
understand.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council on an item that is on tonight's agenda? All right, not seeing any. Mr. Mayor, do you have a report?
Yes, and if I might ask for a point of privilege,
Yes, sir.
if Chief Bingham could come forward and give us a little bit of information.
Hey, I'll just kind of discuss what Ms. Finnegan was discussing there. So the ambulance fee committee met on December 7th, and we found some language in our policy as it stands right now that needed to be cleaned up. Essentially, it didn't allow us to write off ambulance billing for retirees of the city, and it didn't allow us to not send someone to collections. So what we found is a lot of the people that our billing company, which is PPS out of Georgia, it's not through the city of Prattville, it's not through the fire department, they were sending a lot of people who were deceased or who were very elderly to the collections agency. And that's just not something that I or the ambulance committee really agreed on. So the changes in the policy allow us to not bill City of Prattville retirees for an ambulance ride to the hospital. And we have seen an increase in those patients in the last year or so. And then not to send patients to collections if they're overdue or they're receiving an ambulance bill. So that's, hopefully that answers some of the questions tonight, so.
Okay, so the changes are strictly in the policy, and there are no changes to the fee schedule itself?
There are no changes to the fee schedule. We're not increasing ambulance fees or anything like that. We're simply just trying to clean up our policy that would allow us to legally write bills off.
Okay. Any questions for Chief Bingham? Yes.
I have a question. Do we have any type of, you and I did play phone tag today and sent some emails back and forth, but in regards to the amount of money per year that we're looking at, do we have a cap of what we will write off? Have you given thought to that? What does that look like?
We have, I don't have the number off the top of my head. I know ambulance revenue generates about $1.2 million per year, through insurance companies and private pay and things like that. I don't have a number as far as collections goes, but I know our recouping of collections is very, very minimal. So doesn't
Yeah.
answer your question completely, but,
Yes, and
that's-
then through our email correspondence today, you had mentioned maybe 4 to 5 last year of the retirees.
Of the retirees, correct.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
And so
yes.
what is the cost of I know it varies, but what does
does
it
vary.
range?
So off the top of my head, I believe it's $750 for an advanced life support transport, which is IVs, intubation, medications, electric cardiotherapy, and I think it's $500 or $550 for a basic life support transport. So that's just someone that's probably on oxygen, maybe a splint or something like that. And then there's an additional fee per mile from the scene to the hospital, whichever hospital we go to, whether it's Prattville Baptist, Jackson's Baptist East, Baptist South. So,
Okay.
but
Thank
we're not,
you.
again, we are not increasing any of those mileage fees, any of the transport fees or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
all right.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions for Chief Bingham? I would just say, real quick, having a thorough knowledge of the ambulance billing policy and fee schedule. I know that what we ran into at one time before was that the retirees who were still on the city's insurance is self-funded. So we were actually billing ourselves for ambulance rides. So.
Right.
Does this incorporate any retiree from the city, whether they're on city insurance or not?
Yeah, any retiree. I think the way the policy reads right now is if they're currently retired but still on the city's insurance for that 5-year period, we mark the report as do not bill. So the billing company knows do not bill this. Of course, we still have to generate a EMS report for the state rules and everything like that, but yeah, this would include retirees that are not on the city's insurance, if they've rolled off or they chose not to accept the city's insurance when they did retire.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the point of privilege, and I'd like to just add to the conversation here is that the ambulance billing is very, very important because through that, we are able to use that monies for fire trucks and ambulances, to keep our fleet updated and where that money is very important, understanding the full circumstance about the billing process and the human factor as well is a big part of the equation. So look forward to the future, and I believe you might have been the author for a lot of the ambulance procedures there. So thank you for that service.
Yes, sir.
Well, counselors, good evening. Hope everyone had a good holiday season, a happy new year. I know my family and I did. But again, I want to recognize the outstanding work of our teams during the holidays: urban management, sanitation, police, fire, parks and recreations, facilities maintenance, and the list goes on and on. I also got to give a big shout out to our HR and also our finance, because without HR we couldn't hire folks, and without finance we wouldn't be able to pay those folks. But anyway, and also as an update, I think probably everyone here around knows that Prattville won the AL.com's overall Alabama city with the best Christmas lights for 2025. I want to say a big thank you to Kelly Carter and her employees, along with the many departments that pitched in and assisted to make this possible. We look forward to what is ahead. As I've said to so many people that have stopped me, contacted me, glad police department was not in the street today as you were parked on the side. I had a person stop me as I was pulling out of the parking lot and just let me know how much he enjoyed and appreciated our Christmas season. So it's most certainly it's been highly noted. Councilors, you have the city's annual report on the Rebuild Alabama Gas Tax Fund before you. This details the fund's expenditures and status update on the city's annual transportation plan. I also like to please note to everyone that Law Enforcement Appreciation Day will be observed this Friday, January the 9th. I want to express my sincere gratitude to our law enforcement personnel for their dedication, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment to serving our community. This work is demanding, yet they continue to uphold justice, maintain order, ensure that our community remains a safe place for all. Please join me in recognizing and celebrating these individuals for the vital role that they play every day. Please be advised that construction at North Highland Park will begin on Monday, if everything goes as planned. The NHP will be closed to all public access during the construction period. Cone Street is very short, narrow, one-way street that, and for the safety of all, we ask everyone to, except for the residents the 4 or 5 houses that are on there, please avoid the area at all costs. I also like to give a report to the councilors that stabilization work on the library building foundation is proceeding. We are waiting a little bit on, I guess, the supply chains and everything, and want to thank the city staff because the resolution that council passed was up to $370,000 or so. Well, after looking through different construction folks and everything else, proud to say that our current cost on that is going to be less than $100,000. So it will still be split up the way that was discussed. I think basically 60-40, 60 education, 40 or whatever the Matt happens to be on that one. Of course, with that, and I've mentioned before that parking throughout Prattville is very, very important. And so as we have a potential street committee, I'd like to talk some more about improving the parking at the library. Basically, if you're in the library parking lot looking south toward the creek, where our little creekside walk is, potentially expanding that asphalt toward the Crimson Stone walking path. That might add, and I'm gonna guess here, a dozen or more parking spots. But you know, if you got one extra and you happen to find it, that's a very important parking spot as well. So, and again, I hope for the very near future, it's been talked before about an additional wing for our library. I hope that we can definitely make that a high priority. But let's see, also counselors, I'd like to invite everyone. I think Chief Thompson has already invited everybody that on Wednesday, January the 14th, the police and fire departments will host the opening of our public safety training facility from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. This occasion highlights progress in Prattville and demonstrates what is possible when teamwork, collaboration come together around a shared vision. So hope to see everyone there. As we begin this new calendar year, please stay informed about upcoming meetings, work sessions, holiday closures, and sanitation schedules by visiting the city's webpage and subscribing to receive a monthly meeting newsletter by email. That's going to be the best way, I think, for us to get out to all of our citizens, really what all is going on. And I think several of us really found out during the Christmas season and New Year's and some of our other holidays how important it is to try to get that information out to the counselors on when we will be closed, but also when that sanitation route will be running in their neighborhood. Lastly, I'd like to clarify also how to report street and infrastructure issues briefly. For non-emergency maintenance items such as street signs or street lights that are out, citizens alike should use the city's work order system. This allows requests to be tracked if they so desire to. It can be assigned, documented through that completion. However, if there is an immediate public safety issue, such as a traffic signal out, a tree down in the roadway, or any hazardous obstructions, citizens should call 911, emergency line, or the non-emergency line, which is 361-9911. But it's a best way for our crews to get out, and also it is tracked and documented. But dispatch will then send out the appropriate response team right away. In short, the work order system for non-emergencies, 911 for immediate safety hazards. This helps us respond faster, prioritize safely, use our resources efficiently. Also, it's been brought to my attention that April the 9th through the 11th at the Doster Center, our Heritage Association is going to be having the Chronicle of America. So I hope everybody will be able to attend that. I know there's a lot of interesting information that can be brought up during some of these events. Also, I'd like to recognize Dawn Russell. Dawn Russell, she is in the audience over here tonight. She's our interim executive assistant. So just for clarity for all, if you do send an email, mayor@prattvilleal.gov, it comes to me, Dawn, and Michaela, Dawn Russell and Michaela, I'm going to say Rawls, but it's Walker now. So anyway, Council President, I believe that's the end of my report.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions from the council for the mayor? Councilor Jackson.
How much was the stabilization? Did you say under 100?
Yes, sir. It's a little over 80,000.
Oh, wow.
Yes, sir. Now,
That's a
of
significant.
course, there will be some additional, as we move back into remodeling, and we talked about it some at the department head meeting, as some of the vegetation was going to have to come up, which was not a part of the resolution that you guys passed.
Right.
Also, has been brought to my attention, there's some challenges with some of the HVAC in the library. It needs to be updated. I think the last time might have been 2008 or so.
Wow.
But, so anyway, so there, we'll be coming back, either going to be budgeted or adjustment of the budget, or maybe we can find it in some type of building fund that we can actually help upgrade some of these areas.
Okay, so that's good. Also, you mentioned, North Highland will start Monday. What type of window do they have to complete the project?
If I remember correctly, one of the report I gave up here, I think it might have been a 90-day, 100-day or so.
Yeah, I wasn't for sure if you said 90 or 120 days.
I think it was 90, but please don't hold me to that. Now, I have talked with Barbara Robinson that probably their Easter might be impacted up there about that timeline, but we definitely going to move them along. And if I might go back to the library, I have talking with some board members, and during this timeline, unless something changes, the contractor does not want the building to be occupied. And so that might mean that the library is going to be closed for 3 to 4 weeks on that one.
Yeah, Marcus, 90 days is the over and under, 90. Weather pending.
Yes.
Any other questions for the mayor? Councilor Langley.
I have a question. With the money coming under budget with the library, is the plan the same with the 6 pilings and the steel beam? I mean, I know you're not an engineer, but has that changed dramatically? Has the cost, they just have been able to do a more economic, positive way for us in taking care of that problem?
Correct, yes. Still, the plans that were drawn, developed by Day Engineering, Day Structural Engineering, stays the same.
Wow, that's awesome.
Good news, good news. Always good to save a dime or a dollar. So,
All right, if there are no more questions, at this time, we'll move into reports from council on special committees.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Newman.
I have none.
Councilor Jackson. No. Councilor Chambers.
No.
Councilor Merritt.
No, sir.
Councilor Stritchick. No. Councilor Langley. No, sir. And I have none as well. All right, tonight we have the opportunity to create a consent agenda. There are 11 items that can be considered on this consent agenda, and they are as follows. Item number 1 is a resolution to authorize the city attorney to affix the cost for the removal of garbage and rubbish at 419 Marlette Drive. Item number 2 is a resolution to authorize the city attorney to affix the cost for the removal of garbage and rubbish at 705 Francis Street. Item number 3 is a resolution to declare the garbage and rubbish at 1396 Vivid Place a public nuisance and authorize the mayor to abate and charge any incurred expenses pursuant to Chapter 46, City of Prattville Code of Ordinances. Item number 4 is a resolution to declare the garbage and rubbish at 753 Davis Street a public nuisance and authorize the mayor to abate and charge any incurred expenses pursuant to Chapter 46, City of Prattville Code of Ordinances. Item number 5 is a resolution to accept improvements and maintenance of Carrollton subdivision, plat number 1 and plat number 2. Item number 6 is a resolution to declare garbage and rubbish at 626 Mimosa Road a public nuisance and authorize the mayor to abate and charge any incurred expenses pursuant to Chapter 46, City of Prattville Code of Ordinances. Item number 7 is a resolution to set a public hearing to declare the abundance of overgrown grass and weeds at 619 and 621 East Main Street to be unsafe and a public nuisance, and order its abatement pursuant to Chapter 46, City of Prattville Code of Ordinances. Item number 8 is a resolution to ratify and affirm and amend the city's capitalization threshold for certain classes of assets. Item number 9 is a resolution to authorize the city attorney to file a release of garbage and rubbish stagnant water liens on 403 Azalea Drive. Item number 10 is a resolution to authorize the city attorney to file a release of garbage and rubbish lien on 279 Gardner Road. And then item number 11 is a resolution to amend the ambulance fee schedule policy language for fire and ambulance emergency transports. Do I hear a motion to create a consent agenda?
I make a motion.
Okay, motion by Councilor Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Chambers. All in favor of creating a consent agenda, please raise your right hand. And is there any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, consent agenda is adopted. It is before us. Do I hear a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Counselor Merrick, do we have a second? Second, Counselor Langley. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda?
I know Ms. Finnegan came up and she was asking about the language and being able to see the language for the consent agenda. Is there anything we need to do as far as that's concerned, or for the residents, or was Chief Bingham's explanation of the process significant, or do you think we need to do anything for the residents that want to see any amended language to the ordinance?
In my personal opinion, I believe it was explained thoroughly, and it can be released to the final language can be released, but that is going to be once we adopt it. So the only other option at this point would be to remove it from the consent agenda. Then it will become item number 1 on the regular agenda. It still could be voted on at that point, unless there was a motion to hold and then it was, had enough votes to hold or whatever, so.
I just wanted to comment to make sure people understand, I attended that meeting, along with the, committee that was there, and a couple of other counselors were there as well. So, again, there wasn't any fee schedule here. This is a language policy to take away or add to, not monetary alignment. So I didn't necessarily have an issue with it as it's right now. I know the policy language hasn't been seen, but it's basically just the additions that the chief was bringing up. If there was a fee schedule, I would say that might be more aligned with letting people look at the difference in fees or prices, but I don't see a need for that, in my personal opinion, with the exposure it had with the council, because there were several people there along with the ambulance committee.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on this consent agenda?
I don't have a problem with it either, but I do recognize that transparency is important for the citizens of Prattville, and if there is a question that we have not adequately informed the citizens of what we are voting on, the actual verbiage, I don't know exactly what that would look like. I don't know if erring on the side of caution, if it does not create issues for Chief Bingham at this point, erring on the side of caution and getting that out there to the citizens. I'm all for transparency and letting the citizens see that.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the consent agenda?
I would just say I don't disagree with that. I don't have a problem with holding it back as long as it doesn't impact what we're trying to do. But again, if I was to rate the level of concern on this one, I'd put it definitely at low, because it isn't a fee increase. There's not a monetary number assigned with it. And the questions you asked the chief, I had asked him earlier, which were good questions. So I don't see a financial impact here that would have to be, so I put it on a low priority for that. But either way, it's fine with me. I don't, if you want to push it.
I guess what I'm asking is someone making a motion to?
I would make a motion that we separate it from the consent agenda and deal with it as resolution number 1 on the open agenda.
Okay, so there's been a motion to remove item number 11 from the consent agenda and add it to the regular agenda. Is there a second? Second by Counselor Jackson. Is there any discussion on removing item number 11 from the consent agenda? Okay, all in favor of removing item number 11 from the consent agenda, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Any abstain? All right, so the item remains on the consent agenda.
Council President, if I may.
Yes.
So with any objection to a consent agenda item, it doesn't require a vote. If any member objects to any item being on it, it automatically carries over.
Okay,
And that's
so
where-
item number 11 on the consent agenda
Will
will
be-
now become item number 1
That's
on our
correct.
regular agenda.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. So our consent agenda now concludes of, or is items number 1 through 10. Is there any further discussion on the consent agenda? All right. All in favor of adopting the consent agenda, items number 1 through 10, signify by raising your right hand. And the consent agenda is adopted unanimously. All right, we will now move into our regular agenda. So item number 1 will be consent agenda item number 11, which is a resolution to amend the ambulance fee schedule policy language for fire and ambulance emergency transport services. Councilor President Pro Tem Chambers, will you introduce this resolution?
Yes, sir. Whereas in Ordinance Book 2009, page 4, on April 7th, 2009, the City Council of the City of Prattville amended the City of Prattville Code of Ordinances, Fire and Ambulance Emergency Transport Services. And whereas Chapter 30, Health and Sanitation, Article 2, Ambulance and Emergency Medical Vehicles and Services, Division 1, generally Section 30-23, Fire and Ambulance Emergency Transport Service states that the ambulance fee schedule is to be established by the Ambulance Fee Committee and approved by the City Council. And whereas in Resolution Book 2019, page 107, on August 6, 2019, the City Council approved the current ambulance fee schedule. And whereas the Fire Department has determined the need to update specific language included in the policy for this fee schedule. And whereas the Ambulance Fee Committee met on December 8, 2025 at 4 p.m. at the Public Safety Building to discuss the needed amendments and recommended updates to the language for collection and retirees. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Prattville hereby accepts the recommended updates to the language for collections and retirees in the ambulance fee schedule policy. Be it further resolved that the said policy and the current fee schedule shall be maintained by the Prattville Fire Department Administrative Office and the Finance Director. Be it further resolved that said updates to the language will become effective January 6, 2026. So moved.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilor Langley. Is there any discussion on this resolution?
Mr. President, I would just like to say thank you to Chief Bingham for answering these questions. I had the opportunity to email and speak with him and attend the ambulance meeting. I just feel that with the consent agenda, you know, it's typically filled with rubbish and garbage and those kinds of things, that this deserved to be on the open agenda, not only for what it is, but so that the citizens have a better understanding of what we are about to potentially pass. So thank you, Chief Bingham.
Is there any other discussion on item number 1? Okay, not seeing any. All in favor of this resolution number 1, signify by raising your right hand. Okay, and this resolution does pass unanimously. All right, so regular agenda item number 1, which is now item number 2, is an ordinance to authorize the mayor to enter into a lease agreement between the City of Prattville and Fountain City BMX Association Incorporated to continue to operate a BMX park located on County Road 4. Councilor Stritchick, will you introduce this ordinance?
Whereas Section 11-47-21 Code of Alabama 1975, as amended, authorizes the city of Prattville to lease unneeded real property. And whereas on December 17th, 2024, the City Council of the City of Prattville authorized the mayor to enter a one-year lease agreement with the Fountain City BMX Association Incorporated to operate a BMX park on city property located on County Road 4. And whereas said lease agreement will expire December 31st, 2025, whereas Fountain City BMX Association Incorporated, a nonprofit organization, has expressed a desire to continue to operate said BMX park and possesses the degree of expertise necessary to operate said course. Now therefore, be it ordained that the City Council of the City of Prattville hereby authorizes the mayor to enter into a lease agreement with the City of Prattville and Fountain City BMX Association Incorporated for continued use of said city property to operate BMX park for 1 year period of January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2026. Be it further ordained that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute any and all documents necessary to carry out the intent of this ordinance. So moved.
All right, we do have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilor Merritt. As a point of order, this is an ordinance, and to be considered tonight, it will require a suspension of the rules. Do I hear a motion to suspend the rules? So moved. Moved by Councilor Jackson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Newman. Madam Clerk, will you conduct a roll call vote?
Counselor Newman?
Yes.
Counselor Jackson? Yay. Counselor Chambers? Yay. Counselor Merritt? Yay. Counselor Whaley?
Yes.
Counselor Stritchett? Counselor Langley?
All right. Not having unanimous consent, this ordinance will be held until our January the 20th, 2026 meeting. Regular agenda item number 2, which is technically now item number 3, is also an ordinance to amend Ordinance Book 2025, page 013, to declare a temporary moratorium on permits and approvals for package stores, convenience stores, gas stations, and vape shops in the corporate limits of Prattville. Councilor Stritchett, will you introduce this ordinance?
Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Prattville that Ordinance Book 2025, page 013, adopted on May 6, 2025, declaring a temporary moratorium on permits and approvals for package stores, convenience stores, gas stations, and vape shops in the corporate limits of Prattville is hereby amended to include the following: that the transfer of existing license result from the sale of existing establishments currently licensed as described herein will be exempt from the terms of this ordinance. The provisions of this ordinance are severable, and any portion of this ordinance shall declare invalid and unconstitutional, such declaration shall not affect the parts which remain. So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Councilor Jackson. As a point of order, for this ordinance to be considered tonight, it will require suspension of the rules. Do I hear a motion to suspend the rules? So moved. Moved by Councilor Jackson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Newman. Madam Clerk, will you conduct a roll call vote?
Counselor Newman?
Yes.
Counselor Jackson? Yes. Counselor Chambers? Yes. Counselor Merritt?
Yes.
Counselor Whaley?
Yes.
Counselor Stritchett? Counselor Langley?
All right. Not having unanimous consent to suspend the rules, this ordinance will be held until January 20th, 2026. Item number 4, which is a resolution to authorize the mayor to enter into a professional services agreement with Skipper Consulting Incorporated for Montgomery Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, Carbon Reduction Program for traffic signal improvements at the intersections of East Main Street at Chestnut, East Main Street at Washington Street, and East Main Street at Northington Street, at a total cost not to exceed $71,100. Councilor Langley, will you introduce this resolution?
Yes, whereas in Resolution 2025-B, page 339, on November 18th, 2025, the City Council of the City of Prattville authorized the mayor to enter into a construction agreement with the State of Alabama for the fiscal year 2025 Montgomery MPO's Carbon Reduction Program for traffic signal improvements at the intersections of East Main Street at Chestnut Street, East Main Street at Washington Street, and East Main Street at Northington Street. And whereas engineering has identified a need for professional traffic engineering services for the traffic signal improvements project, and whereas Skipper Consulting, Inc. has the expertise to provide said engineering services at a cost not to exceed $71,100, and whereas Section 39-2-2 E1 of the Code of Alabama, 1975, as amended, allows contracts to secure services with engineers possessing a high degree of professional skill to be let without bidding. And whereas this is a budgeted expense in the Capital Projects Fund, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Prattville that the mayor is hereby authorized to enter into said agreement with Skipper Consulting, Inc. for said services and funds in amount not to exceed $71,100 are approved and appropriated from fiscal year 2026 budget line item Capital Projects Fund, East Main Street Signals Carbon Reduction. Be it further resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute any and all documents necessary to carry out the intent of this resolution. So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Newman. Is there any discussion on this resolution? All right, not seeing any. All in favor of adoption of this resolution signify by raising your right hand. And this resolution is passed unanimously. All right, the last item on our regular agenda is resolution to authorize the mayor to enter into a renewal agreement with River Tree Systems Incorporated for examination services for a period of 3 years at a cost of $75 per hour. Councilor Chambers, will you introduce this resolution?
Sure. Whereas in Resolution Book 2023, page 4, on January 3rd, 2023, the City of Prattville renewed a 3-year agreement with River Tree Systems, Inc. to perform certain examination services, and whereas said agreement is due to expire January 20th, 2026, and whereas the city and River Tree Systems, Inc. desire to renew the agreement under which River Tree Systems, Inc. shall continue to provide certain auditing services, and whereas the cost of said services is $75 per hour, and whereas said cost is budgeted expense for the Finance Department. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Prattville hereby authorizes the mayor to enter into a renewal agreement with River Tree Systems, Inc. for examination services for a period of 3 years from January 21st, 2026 to January 20th of 2029. So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Jackson. Is there any discussion on this item?
Could Daniel come up and just kind of tell us a little bit about what this is, and so that the citizens can hear that as well?
Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman Langley. So the River Tree is a company out of Birmingham that we use to help with audits of businesses for business license fees and sales tax accounts. Some of these audits we initiate internally with the Finance Department. Other ones are initiated by River Tree. They have clients throughout the state of Alabama, and if they happen to be looking at an audit of a business in one town, that they will also look for the city of Prattville as well. So we've paid maybe last 3 years between $10,000 and $95,000 a year to this company. It really just depends on what sort of workflow either we send them or that they generate. And a lot of the work that they do, they actually generate themselves. We've sent companies up to them to kind of help with quirky calculations, but also they are kind of a third party, so we don't have to spend the time and the resources to, require and compel businesses to offer up their accounting records and things that they would be required to do so. This is kind of a third-party agent that we've hired in the past to be able to do that. Even in those years where it was $96,000, I think the biggest expense the biggest revenue we got that year was over $500,000. So it pays for itself tenfold as far as the financial aspects of it, but that's what we primarily use them for.
I like the idea of bringing in a third party to audit our own businesses. I think that is keeping things kind of of a board. And, yeah, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other discussion on this item? All right, not seeing any. All in favor of this resolution, please signify by raising your right hand. Okay, and this resolution is passed unanimously. This concludes our regular agenda. Council now will welcome any comments from persons present. We'll have anyone who wishes to speak line up in the middle aisle. You'll be called to print your name and address. And when you'll have up to 5 minutes to address the council, please state your name and address, and then you may begin to speak.
Hi, John Lee Finnegan, 211 Deer Trace. I just wanted to go back on what I brought up and questions I asked, because it wasn't regarding just the fee, it was the language. And I don't know if you can tell me this, but it says accepts the recommended updates to the language. Do you have that in front of you? Did you get that in your packet? That you, what they were
Yes,
going to, you
in
do?
the
Okay.
documents.
So my point was, and this goes to anything where you're talking about changing language, et cetera, that we don't see until after the fact. You know, we'll be able to go to the fire department, and this isn't on just the fire department. This is to be, you know, considered broadly. But, you know, we won't see it until after the fact that you vote on it. And I'm just curious, for example, about the retirees, not charging them. Is this something new in a policy?
So I think the way Chief Bingham explained it is that in the past, previous policy, or the current policy, it was limited to retirees of the city who remained on the city's insurance
Okay.
after retirement. It is now taking it to retirees of the city regardless of what their
Regardless.
insurance.
But I
Carrier
think that would be important for us to see. And also, it says as if, resolve that said updates to the language and become effective as of this date. So are they all grandfathered in, or is this, you know, starting now, since you've changed it? Does that make sense?
It's this day forward.
I beg your pardon?
It starts this day forward.
Okay, so anybody that's retired would not be covered if they're not on the city's insurance?
Oh, no, so it's anybody who is retired from the city of Prattville.
They're transported from today forward.
Yeah, as long as the transport is after today, they won't be billed for the transport.
Okay, I'm still thinking about that. But anyway, I just wanted to make clear that it's language and anything that's changing for any department or anything that, you know, I think an easy attachment would have worked just fine. You know, we've done it before, so just have it for the citizens to look at it. That's all I'm saying,
Okay.
all right? So we'll be able to see that at the fire department, or will you post that online, or how's that gonna work?
It's the resolution that we passed said it will be available from the fire department, business office
And
or the
finance-
finance director.
Okay, all right, but that, would we have to put in a records request then, I guess, huh?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, is there anybody else who wishes to address the council?
Jackie Nix, 706 Running Brook Circle, Prattville. I have several items I'd like to speak about. First of all, I want to thank the city as a small business owner for making the Christmas market available to us. That was a very nice event. I know myself and other small businesses that participated. It was a very good event, and just about everybody I spoke to that participated was very pleased. So I want to thank the city formally for making that available to small businesses like myself. Second is a suggestion for the unnamed venue across the street. We've got the screens, and they get, as I was parking to come here, and there was a TV station playing on the screens. My suggestion is to put items on a loop on those screens and let it be advertisement for the city, for the upcoming Mardi Gras parade, for, anything that's going on with the city. Potentially sell advertising for local businesses instead of playing the TV and giving free advertising to whatever TV station. So just a thought. The next item, I want to thank Councilwoman Langley for not suspending the rules, because as I campaigned, there really is no reason to suspend the rules, and it is a matter of transparency to allow us to be able to look at these items and be able to speak to you about them, either personally or speaking out at the meeting next time to take a closer look at it. So thank you for your nay. I very much appreciate that. Finally, I want to finish up with the cost for the library. Wonderful news that the costs are going to come way under from what the original quotes were. Honestly, that's a huge drop from over $370,000 to a little under $80,000, and almost seems too good to be true. Thank you.
A little over 80,000, just for the record.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the council? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to say good evening,
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
and to the mayor, our council lady, and all the other city lawyers, whatever. I just want to say Happy New Year. Thank you all for 2025. Good, bad, or indifference. And 2026, I pray that it'll be a little bit more better. Put a little compassion for the peoples of the city of Prattville. I just want to say thank you. I don't have nothing to give you a headache tonight, but just remember, I will be back.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? All right, not seeing any. At this time, we'll move into our closing comments. Mayor? Councilor Newman?
I had a couple of things I wanted to say. Excuse me. First thing was just I wanted to thank the sanitation department that I know ran hard this holiday. They had to take a few days off, which, the quote is trash don't stop. So even though they took a day off, they had to make it up the next day, so they were working it. And I really appreciate all the work. I mean, the city employees do a great job, but, a pothole can sit for a while, but trash can't. So, I mean, the sanitation department does a great job. It's a constant job. That machinery starts, accelerates, brakes, arm goes out, back, forth, up and down. A lot of maintenance, a lot of factors, environmental considerations around trucks running. I mean, there's a lot that goes into sanitation, and they are a hard-working group. And I want to really, sing their praises for this holiday season. And as we enter into 2026, we're going to have to look at a couple of things. I do want to make a couple of comments around the fact that we provide a can service. Trash in the can is what the truck picks up. And if we have to stop and get out and pick up other bags, that takes time, so we need to make sure that we're keeping our trash in the cans and not overfilling them. If you need a second can, we can get you a second can. It's going to cost you, but you got to get a second can. cardboard, when it's picked up, if you put yard or garbage in that cardboard, when it gets picked up and put in that truck and it gets tipped in that cardboard spot, it now has household garbage in it, and the city gets fined. So we need to we're gonna do a really good job, I'm hoping this year, putting out some educational stuff that we can help the city citizens understand how to work with sanitation and how to help streamline this. But I just wanted to bring that up a little bit. And also, the third thing on that is, you know, we can do our part too by, when we stop and get gas, maybe put our trash in a trash can or take our trash home and not throw it out over our beautiful city. We have an awesome city here. We're all working really hard on that. If we can do our part by maybe not throwing trash out of the car, you know, Gin Chop Hill, I drive it a lot, and it looks great, and then it doesn't. And then it looks great, and then it doesn't. And the man hours that we put into that, the city, if we can just do our part to not throw trash out, that would save a lot of money on our city, and it would show some pride. I think, you know, I'd like to bring that up for people to think about. Attend meetings, and I'm saying this to the group, and I wanted to comment about the microphones also. I've had a couple of constituents tell me, if we don't turn the mic on and speak into it, they can't hear you online all the time. So if you're talking here and you're not using your microphone, it's not being put on the online side. So that's why I use it. And I say yes instead of yay. I appreciate the due diligence on the library. I think that shows a lot, that the city is working hard to make sure they can keep things down and keep costs down. And hats off to the mayor and the city for bringing those costs for that library down, because that was a big deal for us to get to, and I appreciate that. That's big. That's the only comments I had.
All right, Councilor Jackson? No. Councilor Chambers?
No, sir.
Councilor Merrick?
Glad to see everybody here. Happy New Year.
Councilor Strittick? And Councilor Langley?
Hey, I do have a couple of thoughts. Pull the microphone up. I would like to request, we don't have to do anything, I don't guess, right now about this, but I would like to see us have a work session before the end of the month, if we can secure Council Chambers, Ms. Paula. I think there's a lot of things that need discussing, and would like to make that happen more frequently than it has in the past. Another thing, to piggyback on, Wade, what you said regarding the litter, I picked up trash, it's been a little while now, going up into Camellia Estates, and have been talking with the street department, I think it is, about maybe putting up a no litter or littering sign. But after that happened and I started thinking about it, I can't remember the man's name, and Bill, you may, because you were on the council, definitely, when the older gentleman would always talk about the litter on a stick. Mr. Bob Lee, yes. So he would get up in council meetings and talk about litter. And, you know, I notice whenever, especially during campaigning, whenever I would talk about different things on videos and with other people, and then with the Humane Shelter collecting food and collecting blankets, we have a wonderful community that if we all are on the same page about different topics, we can make a difference. And so I think that from the city creating a no litter campaign, you know, for the month of February, and just to raise awareness, and the counselors could get involved in that, and the schools could get involved in that, and really bring the community together for some of these things that we can't expect for our guys, our employees, because they're stretched so thin anyway, but that's our responsibility. But I think it needs to, I mean, I could do it and I could generate that, but I think coming from the city, a campaign like that would be, Wade's laughing at me.
I just want to pick a warmer month.
Do what?
A warmer month in February.
Maybe a warmer month in February, but we're trying to keep people from throwing it out the window, you know, so yeah, any month will do. But anyway, I think that maybe, Bill, that's something that we could come together and talk about and come up with a plan along with Tracy, and put it on the trash trucks, and that's an excellent point. Stritchick has contributed something tonight to me. Throw it away in May. Throw it away in May. I think that's a great idea, but thank you, Stritchick. High five. There you go, Stritchick. We got him. Hold on, I have one other thing. I stopped yesterday. I just had a whole Prattville day yesterday, and I talked to some street crews. They were out working, I think, on I don't know what street that is. I forget. I'm still learning my streets in my area. They were working hard. I talked to Parks and Rec yesterday. They were out working hard. And then today I went to Uncle Mick's, and our Public Works were taking down Christmas lights, and some young guys out there, and I just told them thank you, and they were doing a great job, and commended them for whoever put the lights up in front of Doster Center. Those were epic, y'all. If you didn't see that, they were perfection. And I asked them, I said, who put those lights up? And they proudly said, we did that, and I said, those were the best, Everything was wonderful, but those lights were just perfect on that tree. So thank you, and we'll talk about the No Litter campaign. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I would like to recommend also that Tommy do a song for Throw It Away in May. Throw It Away in May.
Throw away May? All right. I'll work on that.
Yeah, work on it. All right. Our next regularly scheduled council meeting is Tuesday, January the 20th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? So moved. Councilor Merrick, is there a second? Second. Second, Councilor Chambers. All in favor, say yes. Yes. All right. We are adjourned.